if I were a cryptocurrency project, or like to be precise, if I were to build a cryptocurrency project, what are some of the red flags that I should avoid? Or like, what are some of these things that flag your red flag?
Being anon is climbing the ranks, and I don't mean to lead with that because it's certainly not the first issue.
But there's always this question that Bitcoin was also anonymous. So is Bitcoin the exception that proves the rule? Or is it that like Bitcoin is Bitcoin, everything else is shitcoin?
No, I don't think so. I just think the government doesn't care.
Like, do you think that a part of the problem is the nature of social media? Like, had it been truly decentralized, or like, let's say Web3, where like if you say I am 90% stable, bro, and your wallet is like linked to it, so I can see how many times you got wrecked. You wouldn't be bragging after that.
No, everyone has the same problem. Influencers not even influencers, people who are really good at this get wrecked all the time. I do all the time. You know, the key is to know which ones will do really well, take risks, calculated risk, put less in the calculated risk. You'll probably lose that and you might 10x on another thing. And that's how you make money long term. And that's the short-sightedness of the market too. It's beneficial to me. Like, I feel good when I help people. I feel good when people are doing well. So it is there is some selfishness, and that's the same with everybody. I think we do things for selfish reasons. We can do the psychology of that. We don't have to, but that's why I do it.
So hello and welcome to the HackerNoon Podcast. This is your host Utsav, and today on the crypto episodes, we have somebody from Twitter. He's known mostly as Crypto Fundamentals, but friends know him as Josh Swigart. He grew up in a tiny village, if you want to go to his background, which had about 6,000 people, went to 8 years of college, learned psychiatry, likes working with inmates, which is probably why he enjoys cryptocurrency a lot. He has a wife, he has 3 kids, and with that, I'd like to pass the mic back to Josh and allow him to tell us what drives him to help people in crypto navigate these choppy waters.
So it's a broad question. So I'll try and I'll leave stuff out for sure.
Of course.
When I first started in cryptocurrency, I think we all have this story. The people who blasted have this story. You have to have it. You get destroyed. You get, you lose all your money multiple times. And I listened to the wrong people when I first came on the scene in 2017, 2018. I wasn't even on CT. I didn't know what the hell CT was till about a year and a half ago. I was listening to YouTube, and I don't want to name any names because some of these people, they probably don't even mean badly. They're just terrible at their jobs, and somehow they get promoted to represent cryptocurrencies. But I followed YouTube a lot, and bought certain things that were advertised there. I think I was in graduate school at the time, so I rode like maybe $2,000 up to, I don't know, $40,000 or $50,000, and I rode it all the way down to $1,000 maybe. But I didn't learn anything. I learned how to lose money, but if that's something. But I think time brings all the experience and the things you need. You have to have time for them all to come together. But helping people, I just enjoy it. I don't know why I do it. I don't really like tooting my own horn either because it feels like I'm bragging. I can't stand it. So
I'll do it for you.
It's okay. So it's beneficial to me. Like, I feel good when I help people. I feel good when people are doing well. So it is there is some selfishness, and that's the same with everybody. I think we do things for selfish reasons. We can do the psychology of that. We don't have to, but that's why I do it. I don't like to see people suffer. My wife used to yell at me for giving homeless people $20 bills. I had to stop because
we have kids.
yeah, we have kids to feed, right? But I really enjoy breaking down things in layman's terms because I didn't understand anything, and it took so long. It took so long to get to understand the basic things that you need to understand that no one even mentions to you. Liquidity, right? Farming, tokenomics. I mean, these are basic things actually, but then no one will tell you about, and no one will go out of their way to tell you, period. And if you don't know them, you're just like, everyone was like invested in IDOs, a while back, and they're getting dumped on. They're like, why is the price going down? And, and they think that it's a bad project, but in reality, they don't even know VCs are, there's token unlocks and things like that. So what drives me is I really have a good time too. I enjoy putting together information and making it look and sound a certain way, in a way people understand. When I'm breaking something down, I typically will look at it because I grew up really poor. And then I went to school, so I know the difference between, my uncles who, have a farming 3rd grade education as opposed to someone with a college education. Mm-hmm. So I ask myself, and this is a little bit off topic, well, do I understand? Would my uncle understand this? Right. And like, if the answer is no, I'll rewrite it and paraphrase and, do what I have to do to put it in terms where people will understand. And that's kind of why my threads are built like a story.
The Feynman technique. I get it.
Yeah, right. It pulls people in and makes them understand. It paints it in a bigger picture, more on a global scale than a minuscule scale. But those are the kind of things that drive me, I guess. Just trying to do it the right way is difficult. I never intended on becoming an influencer or educator, whatever you want to call it. That's why my handle isn't fancy. It's the JOS 12 Olsen. That's the default handle that Twitter just gave me. And about a year ago, I put out a small thread and, people liked it. And I was like, well, people are kind of responding to this. And I just kept doing it. And I made them more visual and I made them lengthier and I made them more detailed. And, it kind of just happened, right? But no one ever told you about you don't really understand how dirty the space is until you get to have followers. So that drives me too, because I see, I know of something, people shouldn't buy something just based on who else is promoting it because I've been offered a promotion, right? Or things like that. And this probably, no one's gonna offer me a promo after this video comes out. Guarantee you that.
I'm sure you would still get all of those promotions because
I tried to do one once. I really did. But what I found was, just like I've never been able to fake anything in real life, I can't kiss butt, I can't force myself to do things like that. I don't know what it is. I couldn't fake doing the work. There was no energy in it. I just sat there. I was like, this is awful. And I put it off. And finally I just said, no, I don't want to really do this. And it was a good project. It was fine. But anyways, I think that's kind of following your path, right? If you're not listening to yourself, there's plenty of influences out there who are driven by money, but they're not really listening to themselves internally. Well, in my view, at some point that road's going to come to an end because you're not doing what you love. You're forcing yourself to do things. You're in a rush. That's the biggest thing, right? So as opposed to, I guess those things drive me. Money drives me too, to a certain extent. Of course it does. It drives everybody. And I hate it when people say I don't do this for the money. Of course I want to get rich. Of course I want to be, and it isn't even being rich. It's being worry-free. I don't need, I want, having resources. So okay, well, I don't have to worry about this month because I grew up with parents who live paycheck to paycheck. And right, I don't obviously now, but at the time, it was very stressful. And even in college, eating ramen, in dorm rooms. And
that's the meal. Yeah, I get it.
Back when I was a medical aide, I made $12 an hour and I didn't ever, my fridge had 2 things in it. But so money's a driver, of course, and it always will be. But if I can help people benefit along the way, it certainly actually is one of those things where I kind of enjoy it. And I don't like people being trampled on. It pisses me off a little bit. But in the space, you see more and more of it. It's getting worse. So depending who you follow, and that's the thing about following too. Every follower's goal should be in the end to follow just themselves. Maybe a select group of people. I mean, they should be working on their craft to that degree where, in 2 or 3 years, it's just them making decisions and maybe checking in with a few people to help validate that decision, make sure there's no holes in their plan or their research or project they're looking at, those things. But so that drives me too, helping people get to a point where they can stop wondering these complex questions like liquidity, farming, those things. What else drives me? The detail, I like that. I don't know what else to really say. I'm sure there's more. I'm just missing stuff.
No, I get it. It makes sense because there would be a lot of, let's say, economists or finance people who could always let's say, explain liquidity better using all of their deltas and their alphas and their betas. But what is the application side of things for people who are not finance people?
Right.
And from my personal experience, I see that you fill that gap. You use real world examples. You have check out this particular, you don't kind of say check out this token, but you are always okay, so these are the things that I do and these are the fundamentals and so on and so forth. So if I were a cryptocurrency project, or to be precise, if I were to build a cryptocurrency project, what are some of the red flags that I should avoid Or like what are some of these things that flag your red flag?
If a project flags as red flags, being anon is climbing the ranks, and I don't mean to lead with that because it's certainly not the first issue, but it's only that way because regulations are coming and I don't want them, right? But they are, and there's nothing I can do or say about it.
Right.
So if we invest into long-term projects that are now going to be regulated in a year and a half, well, what becomes of them? We need to start asking ourselves these questions, right? Do I want to put my money somewhere in a year and a half where I'm not sure what's going to happen because they failed to regulate? Whereas, and I'm not going to mention projects on the podcast because everyone knows.
Of course, yeah.
But the ones who are compliant, well, we know what's going to happen. They're going to be fine, right? And that's not saying that the devs aren't better, because I'm sure they are. I'm sure there's great ones on both sides. So the anon thing, I like it. I think privacy is important. It's a real big thing. But when we're talking strictly financial, no politics involved, right? Where our money is going, how to make money, how to multiply that money, how to compound that money. It's a question we really need to start asking. Do we want to participate? And memes are fine because they last, whatever. But
everyone likes memes, yeah.
So the memes excluded, but if we're talking about serious projects, we're attempting to be serious that aren't docs and aren't KYC. Well, there's problems coming, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I'm not gonna risk my capital, and neither will other people. People will be way ahead of that. Besides me.
But there's always this question that Bitcoin was also anonymous. So is Bitcoin the exception that proves the rule, or is it that Bitcoin is Bitcoin, everything else is shitcoin?
No, I don't think so. I just think the government doesn't care.
The government doesn't care because the people now are not in on. Maybe Satoshi is, but the others are not.
It doesn't even matter because Bitcoin's been co-opted by so many institutions now. How many? What percent of the supply is owned by institutions where they can just kind of push it whatever direction they want in comparison to retail. And I'm not sure. I don't have numbers in front of me. But I'm just saying, would it matter if he's anon if you control the supply? I mean,
oh yes, there are thoughts that if even a single Bitcoin from his initial wallet, which has hundreds and thousands of Bitcoin, if that moves, probably the entire market would crash because now people would know that amount of money is gonna move. I'm not sure where I found it, but if he is not anon, it's gonna be a problem. It works because he's anon.
Right. So and I respect privacy, and you're absolutely correct. I just don't know another way around it.
Right. I get it. It makes sense.
And other red flags for projects, tokenomics is a big one. If I see a team that's allocating a huge portion of the supply to themselves and there's too many unlocks too frequently, we've all been over this, marketing wallets 20% or something like that. I'm or the distribution too. So oftentimes new people in crypto don't look at distribution. Well, get to know Etherscan, go through the wallets. If you see the top 20 wallets all holding 4%, you need to get out, because that means too many whales own too big of a supply, and if the liquidity is low, well, there's only one direction, and it ain't up. And so that's another point, right, when it comes to red flags. So the distribution of the wallets, the tokenomics, and there's plenty of tutorials. And before I jump into that, I want to curve off on something before I forget. If you're new or moderate or novice or whatever, and you don't understand crypto fully, you don't need to understand things like an economist. You just need to understand basics well, and you will do well. But that's it. It's very simple. Keep it simple, keep it smart, keep moving, keep pivoting with the changes and the trends. But you don't have to know every single thing in the world. If you're a technical analysis or trader, that's a little bit different. But as far as do I know basic liquidity, or do I know basic farming? Do I have money on every single chain and every single wallet? Do I have my security wired tight with VPNs and multiple wallets and ledgers, or however you're going to do it, right? Do I know tokenomics very well? So I know red flags. Do I know distribution? Do I, it goes on and on the list. Is this project viable in comparison to others, or are we just riding hype for the next 2 weeks? Is there regulation coming for this type of project? Is there a need in infrastructure? And I think another long-term thing people don't think about, and I know I'm rambling.
It's not. It is very enjoyable. Go on.
They're so focused on what the best is. Okay, there's the best and what's selected. And this, and I can't get this through to people enough. What is the best doesn't matter all the time. Because if you have a supply chain, logistics chain, blockchain that, scales infinity and, make efficiency, possible everywhere in the world, it's not going to matter. It's not going to get implemented because you're going to put 30% of the globe out of work. immediately. So it might get adoption, but it's not going to get adopted this year, right? We're not doing that this year. So we're talking long term then, until we get everybody situated and where they need to be before we can implement something like this. So the best doesn't always matter. Same as some privacy coins I really like, and I hope they make it. I'm not sure how they're going to get around things. And obviously the privacy, they don't have to go anywhere. But but you know what I mean? Like there's still these issues that will need to, be solved.
Exactly.
So the best thing doesn't matter. The best tech doesn't matter. What's selected matters. Network effect matters. Community matters. So I guarantee you there were companies that were better than Microsoft and Amazon before they made it big. 100%. I guarantee it. There always is. And so that's an important point that I'd like to drive through. I don't care if it's the best. Ride the hype, take profits on the way up, leave some in there in case it does really well. But make no mistake about, to be so vigilant and watching where your projects are going, because some of them have such high ambitions. They're like in a 10-year project when regulations are coming in a year and a half, right? And they don't have the lawyers on board yet for that either. So it's anyways, I know I'm rambling. But
no, I get it. Yeah, I get it. What I was going to say was that if somebody from and pardon me for using a name. So if somebody from Solana, if somebody from Solana was watching this, they could take that part which you just said and use that as their advertisement material. It does not matter who's the best. It matters who gets selected. It's about the hype.
Yeah, I know. Why do you think the infrastructure of the globe sucks so badly? There's way better stuff. That's just what was selected. Come on.
Agreed.
Money comes into it, of course, but I don't want to get too detailed. We're just talking. The generalized statement.
Most definitely.
But
another thing, I'm sorry, go for it.
No, I want you to talk some too. Sorry, go ahead.
I usually like to have my guests have the prime thing. So, but anyways, thank you for letting me speak on this. So I have this question. There are all these DeFi protocols or whatnot. They say that they are decentralized, and very recently we saw an exchange go down, or layer 1 blockchains go down because of problems with the AWS servers or whatnot. If that happens on a place like Twitter, that's understandable. We go and talk about it somewhere else. But what do we do when it happens on something like a blockchain or a decentralized application where there is no backing, teams are in on? What happens if that infrastructure goes down? What are your thoughts around that?
Goes down in what way? Every way? There's no access to it? The chain's not operable?
It happened for 72 hours at the chain that I won't name again. And it happens.
What do you do with your investment, or what do you do to fix it?
How do you call yourself decentralized the next day? I was talking about this exchange called DYDX or DidX.
Well, they're not essentially decentralized, and some are hybrid format. And I think that's a shortcut that's been taken because it's not taking long. It's taking long in human years, right? Our time, because we want things now, right? It's taken a long time in crypto years to get things scaled, like Ethereum, get the oracles, get the oracles linked up the way they should be, because that kind of work just takes time. And so people like Solana, and you can't blame them from a business model. Well, they're taking forever. Let's put this hybrid model in that's part this, part that, and we'll make some money, right? And we'll see if we can again, back to the thing. It doesn't matter if it's the best. It matters to get the person select.
And
so that's kind of what you have. People have just taken that route instead. That's why probably people get so irritated with Vitalik, because he just, he's he just ganders, right? Like an old man in the garden with his Ethereum, taking his time and
oh my god,
and he doesn't care, right? Because it's going to work when it's going to work. And that's why people always this is going to take this over. And I never get into these arguments, and I know, but I have no reservations about saying that nothing is close to taking over Ethereum. And I don't like the gas prices either, but it isn't. Everything's built on it. No one wants to I can't even get people to bridge to other chains for a 10x. You think that, right? Do you think something else is going to take over?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, so... But other red flags for teams, there isn't community building. They need to have an active community. So if I see them not it depends. If they're really good at their jobs, they don't need to be so active. And I'm not one of those people who needs hand holding. But because the majority of conversations about the project happen in a Telegram, if I see bad sentiment in a Telegram, you already know the price is going to go bad. At least in the interim. But so many people in crypto, they need those reassurances to keep their money where it is, especially in short-term investments, that teams have to be active in order for that to work. Other red flags. More and more red flags are becoming, there's more of them now because we see these things with doxed people running off with money, right? So it doesn't even matter. So there's this guy on Twitter, really smart guy. I think he's going to have a lot more followers soon. But he was telling me, we were talking about, does it matter if they're doxed? He's like, no, it doesn't. And he made I can't remember his point, but it was really, really good. Something to the tune of, they're going to do what they want to do anyways. But he said it well. I'm sorry, I'm not saying it well. Anyways, that's all I can think of right now with teams not doing things. Okay, here's another thing. Devs make bad CEOs, really bad CEOs. They don't have, they think they can code, market, and then do HR and everything at the same time. So they need to hire on some kind, and there isn't really a big way to do this. It's very difficult because projects don't have all these options like Fortune 500 companies do. But they need to have more people that are pointed in several different directions to make things work typically. So we have great projects that teams have just been like, well, whatever, I'll get there when I get there. Well, you're not Vitalik. Stop acting like him. Back to our prior point, you have to do something else to keep people's interest at this stage, but they don't care and the project dies. But it could have been great, right? You see that a lot. So devs who act entitled to, devs who just want to put out a token for a cash grab, get that a lot. I guess that's all I have to say red flag wise. It's just, I could make a list probably very long, but intuition falls into it too. And this is something that can't be taught. I think it comes from being, just getting a feeling for all the projects over a long period of time. But sometimes I'll almost buy something, or I'll sit back and I'll think, because I think about things for a while, then I won't buy it, and the price will go down, or I'll think that the market's going to take a turn, and it usually does. But that didn't come right away, and I'm not always right either. But my intuition usually leads me in the right direction towards projects, and which ones I should invest in, and which ones are going to be okay. And I think it's just a culmination of experience, from being hurt here and having good things happen here, that kind of makes this thing happen where I just get a feel for a project if it's going to do well or not, right?
That makes sense.
And I'm sure you can speak to that too.
I wouldn't say I have the best sense. What I learned is what my personal gut says, do the opposite, and that is what usually works for me. Well, I don't have that sense at all.
Well, yeah, it'll come.
Some people are like that. Yeah. So I have a serious question for you. You don't usually play that up, but you are an influencer for the community, right? Has there ever been a case, in your opinion, where you were not very optimistic about let's say token or a coin or whatever, and you probably didn't have the best words for them? They ended up going down or falling or failing, and they probably weren't that bad to begin with. What do you think, when you think that you wield such a power over the community or not?
I'd like to say people don't listen to me, because
I listen to you, so you have at least one person.
I often have people that a lot of people like me do. I'll mention things and then they'll go up in price a lot before people will come on to them. And you're asking about whether I haven't liked things and it's dropped in price because I've said something. I don't think I've ever put out a public statement fudding anybody, to be honest.
You call that FUD? Okay.
What's that?
So you use the word FUD, right? The way I see it, see, that's it. You make a distinction that you would not FUD anything, whether you like it or not.
Here's the thing. Unless I have the evidence, there's no FUDding. The only thing I've ever FUDded publicly is Snowbank, right? And Snowdog. Remember those? Good times. And, right. But people jump to these conclusions, and I'm not going to name names, but their evidence is poor. The journalism is that the investigative journalism and the evidence they've collected is poor. It's very, 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 very poor, especially when they're posting things and they don't link up a chain of events. They don't link up a timeline. They don't describe how the wallet transfers worked and where it went and how it got there, right? There's 2 threads, picture, post, right? I've never liked that. And it's not that I don't want people to do the right thing and not to be, and other people not to, and things not to, and bad teams not to get called out. I don't want them to succeed at all. But if I don't have the evidence, the real evidence, there's no sense in giving it all to me, because that's me doing hearsay. That's me starting rumors. And I almost, there's been a time where I almost did once, and I was wrong. This is early on, and I would have hurt them, right?
Yes, for sure.
And I got the information later on because I was patient. I waited. I didn't want to do that, even though my emotions were telling me to do it. And there's been other times too, but you have a feeling, you hear these rumors, but what else are they? They're rumors.
Just rumors.
I've seen this guy and, they dumped. Well, where's the proof? I see that so often. He dumped on us. Where's the proof? Their VCs are dumping. Where's the proof? Show me their wallets linked to the token unlock dates, that's fine. And it's a little bit tiresome because people on crypto, they wonder why they're not taken seriously a little bit, right? Well, we need to ask better questions. So you're promoting somebody to have 100,000 followers, right? And you're listening to every word they say, but then again, you're not asking them to do better. And I don't mean being rude or being mean, but like when someone's presenting something, they should have all the sources. They should have references. They should have documented evidence. And if there's a rumor, why aren't they going to that person? Hey, I heard this. Can you respond to this? Right? Those type of things. And I don't mean being a journalist person, altogether, but there's so much bad information put out and misinformation, disinformation, and I see it hurt good projects, and none of it's true at the same time. So we have to, as a community, start doing diligence on this, and that's why I don't FUD, because I don't have the evidence, right? And unless someone's going to give it to me, and I'm not an Etherscan sleuth, right, going through wallets all damn day. If someone wants to, people get caught up in this, right, where I caught him. Well, you spend an hour of your day catching somebody dump on you, and you're not getting your money back when you could have been researching something to put your energy somewhere where it's going to benefit you. And I've never done that. I've never went on my way to look at wallets like that, even though it can be beneficial in other ways, because it's just taking time away from me making money, basically. And anyways, that's my kind of thought on on that. So sorry.
Speaking of making money, I love these talks, right? Speaking of like making money, there is like one thing that the crypto OGs allegedly don't like, which is the NFTs. What's your take on that?
I've been getting more and more into NFTs, looking around, kind of collecting a few here and there. I don't have a lot of them. And some I wish I bought more of. Is when you're first getting into crypto baby steps, I'll buy like just two at a time, right? And then the floor's gone up a few ETH. I'm like, well, I wish I would have bought more. But yeah, there's some things I like. At first, I didn't understand them. I remember I was having a conversation with a couple other influencers who are really into NFTs, and they're nice guys and they're funny, right? And I was like, and they were talking about the notorious frogs. And so the frogs, and I was like, and at first I was like, oh, what are they? And I didn't understand, right? I didn't get it. You have to really do your research in NFTs too, because they're going to be in a metaverse and they're going to go to 3D and they're going to come with land and all this, not just those ones, but tons of them. And so I think there's a place for them. I think they assimilate ratio matchup with crypto perfectly, because the majority of crypto after regulation is not going to be viable. The majority of memes are not going to be viable. There might even be more NFTs that are viable than, and this might or may not happen. There may or may not be more NFT companies that succeed than the other ones, because they're so well connected with athletes and sports teams, and people love art, and corporations, and so they're in the metaverse too. So you may have a situation in the future where, not all of them, because there's tons of NFTs too, but you have quite a few NFTs that are long-term holds that may do very well, but I don't know much about them yet, and some people are helping me kind of navigate them, like, oh, what's this, is any good? I recently did my first thread on an NFT a couple weeks ago, a month ago or so. And I just stumbled onto the guy. They're kind of cool, so I posted about it. No one cared until I think yesterday. That's how it always goes, right?
Right.
I brought it to one of my. Yeah, it does. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Like I was saying, like if we look at our parents, right, their money is all in fiat or in like savings or checking accounts or whatever. When they look at us, they're like, "Where's your money?" And I'm like, "It's on the wallet." They're like, "What does that even mean? Like, can't you see your money?" And now it is the generation after us, which is like, now when we ask them, okay, at least your money isn't like crypto. No, my money is that picture of an ape, right? So it's a cultural thing, I guess. Like life is a meme, but yeah.
It is, and it's a very difficult concept for them to grasp. You can't explain it to them. I don't get it
at all. Yeah.
You don't?
I don't get NFTs at all. Like, how would you like explain value to me? I call it like layer 2 laundering, like layer 2 money laundering.
And historically speaking, that's how a lot of people launder, is through art.
Right. Yeah.
I don't understand it fully yet either. I just feel like, I saw a few cool things and the market's not going anywhere, so I'll look into it. And some things are interesting, and especially when you have these ones that are associated with them. They're associated with bigger like companies that are in crypto, bigger crypto companies and metaverse companies, and they're going to be in their operating system or whatever the hell it is that they're putting out, and be able to venture in there and be avatars. And how many avatars are you going to have though eventually? Because and that's the thing I worry about. Like I've come to understand too, like, why does everybody do 10,000 the limit on NFTs? Why 10,000 is kind of a lot to me, isn't it? Or is it not? I don't know. I guess it depends on the
programmatic thing. I guess somebody wrote a piece of code which you could run to get 10,000 NFTs, and all of these like script kiddies, they are copy pasting that same code, and because they cannot change that 10,000, or it might be like limit. I'm not an expert over there, but that is why everybody has 10,000 or like 8888 or something like that.
Right. Okay. I got it. It makes sense. See, something I didn't know. But yeah, I don't. It's hard to understand that. But even I can't explain it monetarily to people, and I won't try. You're saying.
Like, if you were to look into the future, like, what do you think is next? If our generation was, let's say, defined by DeFi and cryptocurrencies, and the next one is DeFi and NFTs, what is the next one? NFTs and X. What's X?
What do you mean by like the next trend?
Yeah.
I honestly think they're going to have to bridge the financial system with blockchain eventually. Traditional financial systems into blockchain eventually. And it's already there. The groundwork's already being laid, essentially. Or are you asking what the next trend is?
Yeah, like you speaking about adoption, which like tells me that there is more circularity to it, because it all like ties down to the finance side of things. I was looking more from a utilitarian standpoint, or like maybe even like monetary, like where are people going to chase their next pumps? Is it still gonna be DeFi, NFTs, or is there going to be something else? What would your
There's
take
always
be?
going to be something else. There'll always be something else, because something else makes money, and it'll at least it's what drives innovation. You see these things, and I have this theory, and it may or may not be right, but like the DeFi 2.0 and then 3.0 and these things, I'm not sure if they're DeFi or not. We don't have a standard textbut definition, right? It's whatever it is. It's different code, it's different gimmicks, it's the way it works. We're seeing if it works. It's all experimental. We'll see, you know. But I have a theory that government agencies, they've let us. What always happens during tech revolutions is government agencies they'll let you innovate. Why would they close things down right away when they can let like all these brilliant people innovate for years on end, and then just cherry pick out what they want in the end? Cost them nothing, right? And so the innovation factor is always going to be there, because one person wants to one up the other, and code gets spliced and code gets altered, and then someone thinks of something better or something to add to it. And so I think we'll always see things like that. I do like privacy aspect that's upcoming with our current world, the privacy coins and the new features that some of them have. I'm not going to mention them because I don't want anyone to go buy things, right? If they research them.
This is not financial advice. Let me say that now.
So I do like privacy coins, some of them that are DeFi and privacy, that are converting assets into synthetic assets and then back and forth without being traced. I think there is a need for privacy in this market, in the world, actually, because I think regulations are coming, and it's not for bad reasons. I just think part of human existence to have some things private in your life.
For sure, I'm with you on that. And like death and taxes are always gonna be there. So yeah. Be prepared to pay taxes. I'm in India, so my country just had their budget announcements, and they were like, if you have crypto, you pay 30% tax on the income that you generate from crypto. So it's pretty progressive. If I hold it, I'm not paying any taxes.
Yeah. No, that's great. Right. And it means that you can see the younger generations, right? And then the people, that's all they're doing. I mean, I don't know, probably people, 15 to 25 definitely are, I would say, a higher percentage are in crypto than anything else, especially traditional assets. No one wants to get on Charles Schwab for 0.5% a day. They just don't, right? I mean, there's no fun in it. It's interesting,
right? It's interesting that people 15 or 25, they have access to sorts of capital that we didn't have. So it's nice. Yeah, at least the world is progressing.
It is. I was talking to my dad today, and I have a young brother. He's under 10, and he plays video games and all. And I was reminding me of the play to earn video games that are going to be very big in the future, right? Where people will just be playing, earning money through playing the games. That's definitely will be a thing in the future. I think metaverses will be a big thing. Although I think that's so long term as well. I don't think we're anywhere near ready to actually have them be operational, as far as avatars are concerned. I mean, so I think a lot of people confuse metaverse with video games, right?
Yes, they do.
It's not a game. And so, well, it kind of is. I guess it's, it's an integration, that's for sure. And so, but yeah, the next thing, it's hard to say. Current markets, it could go. I have my thoughts on on the market, but depending on where the market goes, like, see, I just don't think that's going to happen with the market. If we entered a long-term bear market, most projects would be, wiped from the map. Yeah. There's no capital to do the research, so.
I shouldn't laugh, but okay,
No, I get it. I laughed. What else can you do? I mean, we have no control over it. We'd like
saw
it to.
it last time, right? I think because we are used to it, so like if it happens, it's like, okay, it happened again.
You get to those points quicker, like the death, 5 stages of death, the grief, and then the acceptance. Right? It's kind of the same thing when crypto's gone down for new people, but your third or fourth rodeo, you're right in acceptance, just like that. Well, nothing I can do.
It's a crash. Let me go back to sleep.
Yeah, right. Okay. And the way I've been doing it too is I spend more time doing other things that I've been neglecting, because they're in a bull market. You can't leave the computer. You can't go to sleep. So, there is benefit and you got to get back into it. And at the same time, you don't think that well. Like, so for people who are, and I'm guilty too, but if you're staying up all night and you're, you got that dopamine pumping constantly from all the trades you're in and you're making money, I mean, your brain's not working that well. You're not making the best decisions just because you're fatigued. So, it's good to take a break. But anyways, sorry, went off track again.
No, it makes sense, like, because you have this background in psychiatry. So, like, you understand these things, right? When you get a lot of these dopamine pumps, you obviously are not thinking straight. You're thinking, even if you are like not fatigued, is like, let's say you are going to make mistakes because you think that you practically are untouchable, if you get that drift, which like makes you more rash and stuff.
Yeah, they get them. The euphoria really is a problem with most people, and the dopamine, right? It's addictive, number one. So you can be addicted to anything. I don't care what it is.
Exactly.
The come down is really hard too. So people chasing, what they'll do essentially is, and I have this fear about when crypto regulations come in and memes, I don't know when it's going to happen, 10 years, whatever. Maybe it doesn't. But if it all did go away, the 100% gains, 50% gains, whatever it is, I mean, a lot of people that have made all their money that way are going to lose it all in a casino because they're going to be chasing something. There's going to be a void that needs to be filled on a hormonal level, right? A neurotransmitter change has occurred if you've been doing this long enough, right? That's something we don't have to get into, but absolutely it has. Just like cell phones change the neurochemistry of your brain as well when you use them for a while. So I worry about that a little bit. But as far as people,
that makes sense.
Yeah, as far as the people with the dopamine in a bull market, you get addicted to it. It's like this constant thing. But you run out eventually. Your body gets fatigued and you can't produce. It's like kind of like being an addict. The addict doesn't get the same feeling twice and have to keep increasing to feel the same. It's the same thing. That's why people, even during the bull market fatigue, even when they're making money, they're like kind of apathetic after like a year, like 20 grand, whatever, right?
90,000 APY. Let me leverage it.
I'll do that later. But they get too lazy to take trades that they know they're going to 2 or 3x, right? That's bull market fatigue. And that's a response from the body saying, I'm not excited anymore because, I've been making so much, it's not that the money doesn't matter. It's just that all the dopamine's been hitting you constantly and you don't care, right? You're kind of apathetic.
That makes sense.
So anyways.
Yeah. So as we come to the close of this podcast, I want you to take some names, but these are the ones that you would be happy taking. Right?
Oh,
yeah.
Sure.
So tell us some of the tools that you use in this space. There are so many. I just found out about Zapperfy, started using it. But what are the ones that you like? What are the ones that you want people to use to be more aware, informed, and so on and so forth?
Quant Metrics is a good one.
Coin Metrics?
No, Quant.
Quant Metrics, gotcha.
Yes. Quant Metrics is a good one if you're looking for, market sentiment and, information you're not going to get anywhere else, especially when it comes to kind of looking at indicators. TradingView, don't check your prices on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. Pull up a chart because those aren't in real time and they often have glitches. So I don't recommend anyone ever uses anything that's not real time, especially if you're watching a meme trade. Yeah.
Speak more on that, please. Cause I had no idea that this was the reality.
CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap pull their data from somewhere, right? They pull it from the exchanges, or they pull it from, I don't know where they pull it from, to be honest. But I never in a project I'm in not have the chart up. I don't even care if you know how to read TA. You can at least tell where the buys and sells are at and where the dumps are happening, right? And you can track wallets that way and everything else if you need to, and see, what's going on with the team and the distribution, like I always do. But the coin market cap and CoinGecko thing, you're getting a price, but like it's lagging. It's a lagging indicator that can go wrong. You're not getting it. It relies on something else. So anytime you're dealing with your money, you should not be using an application. I mean, if you're just scrolling through looking for new projects, great. Overall total market cap, seeing what's ranked, right? That's great. But for price check, I mean, and I've had this conversation with movers last week where they were just using Coinbase. They were just, they didn't know I do what I do, but all they were doing to invest was Coinbase. I was like, and these people have these hopes and dreams, so you feel bad. You're like,
NGMI.
like, how do you know? No one's told you about a DEX. They had no idea what a DEX was, but they've been on Coinbase for a year. I'm like, what is going on, right? And because it's a YouTube, they're on the damn YouTube, right? Instead of CT. And
oh my God.
Anyways, what was I saying before that? I'm sorry.
So you were telling us about like Quant Metrics that we should
Quant Metrics. Yeah, I go with charts, Dex Screener, Dex Tools, whatever. And you can have several tabs open. I kind of like, I'm not going to give an endorsement here, but the ones you can set an alarm on. If you're watching a trade tightly, you can put a top and a bottom on it. So if it falls below a certain invalidation point, well, you might want to get out. If it goes above that, you know where your TPs are at. And I'm not a trader. I know I'm a novice at TA, but I'm good enough to know where resistance and support's at, and how our retest works, and where we need to get for me to make a purchase, right? Entries and exits. So for people, if your investment should wrap around three things. Research is the number one. That's the first thing you should do. The next one's entries and exits. And if you can't enter and exit, it doesn't matter how good your research is. And I'm not saying don't hold for years, because I have things that hold for years. But if you see sentiment turning, the team's not meeting deadlines, you need to get out. That's all there is to it. And I heard this from an influencer who was really large when I was really small, and I was getting dumped on all the time. And I was like, oh, what's going on? Can we push the project this way? Could we do it that way? He's like, the bottom line is, and I'm not saying we have to do this, but if something's going wrong with a project, if you don't sell, someone else is going to. That's the bottom line. So if there's like with the recent project, we won't speak of scams or people like lying or corruption or these things. People just need to realize that no one's going to trust it again. People get hurt real bad in the space. So Quant Metrics, Dex Tools are indicators I use. I use TradingView too. I use what else do I use? Oh God, what's it called? I haven't looked at it in a while. I use Ape Board. Is that and Zerion, right? For tracking portfolios. Yep. But as far as research goes, I don't go through anybody but myself. I go to the websites, I read through the white papers, I'll Google them, I'll Google the team members, I'll tie in about everything I can with who they are and what they do. I like to look at histories, backgrounds. Sometimes you can't find them, which is a little bit odd this day and age, but you can't. Well, it is. But I don't look at application too. Is there an application? Is there a need? This is fancy. This is great. This is wonderful. It's exciting. Is there a need? Will there be adoption? People never ask that question. They don't care. They want to make money right away. That's great. But then at least give yourself some limitations and say, I'm not going to research that aspect of this, but I know it's going to make me money right now. So I'm going to give myself a timeline to get out, in a month or a year, or, a week if it's a meme, whatever. And so these things are important. There's different criteria. There'd be different tiers depending on what kind of investor you are, and knowing limitations is one of them. If you're not someone who's going to research anything, well, you better know why it's important, why it's being hyped, and when hype dies, right? And how long things last. It's a basic component. You can look at about every meme chart that's ever existed. There's an initial pump phase for the first 48 to 70, maybe even 24 to 72 hours. And then usually a rapid sell-off. And then if it's any good, it'll go back up, 10 times the original all-time high. But as far as metrics goes, I really get my hands not dirty. I just go to the source. I don't rely on too many databases or indicators, and there isn't many anyways. There was this one though that showed good. I like Quant a lot, but there was this one. God, I can't think of the name of it because I used it all the time. But it told you who was selling, when whales were selling, how often they sold. It kept track of a lot of data. I just can't think of it right now. It's not Glassnode. It's a different one. I forget what it's called.
There's one called Into the Block.
Maybe that's it.
Guys.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, that's a good one. But like, I hate to disappoint people, but I don't use indicators that much. I really just dig through and even on CT, like if you want data, go to CT. Like what a mistake I realized I was making early on was I would go through, just scroll through random stuff. And then I would see things that people were talking about, very small people usually, and I ignored them, right? And then it was a 10x like 2 days later, or a 5x or whatever. And now what I do is if I have time to research CT, I won't pay attention to what people are saying. I'll go through what people are talking about and I'll write down every ticker. I'll spend an hour writing down every ticker I see. And then I'll go back and I'll research each ticker and see what they're talking about and if it's worth, kind of digging into, right, a little bit further. And that works very well, actually, especially when you're scouring for young accounts that are really good, because there's some people out there that are amazing at what they do. They have like 1,000 subs or 2,000 subs. So I do that quite often. And that's oftentimes CT is where I find new things that I haven't heard of before. Even CoinGecko, I'll search like page 7, right? Page 8. Things like that.
Use.
What's that? Yeah.
At least it's of some use.
Page 7. New listings too. I mean, you get on live pairs on, Dex tools, and sometimes I'll sit there and I'll look through those for when liquidity is added. Yeah, overall, I'm sorry, man. I don't use a lot of indicators. I just kind of use myself. I really dig into a project. I tie pieces together. So
that's interesting.
But for TA wise, I'm always watching that too, like support and resistance and trade off those levels if I'm just trading or swing trading large caps or something. But I'm not trading right now because it's just no good.
I'd like to end with like this note, which I like when I read your tweet. I was like, I want him to us on the HackerNoon podcast.
Okay.
It was when the market had crashed for the first time this month, or like was it in January? And you were like, fuck those guys who talk about stable coins, right? So yeah, I was like, okay, that is a very interesting take. I want to talk more about that. Like, this is somebody who believes in crypto and who knows that stablecoin is just fiat and a different clothing.
Yeah, and are you talking about them, like the braggart nature of it?
Yes, the braggart nature of it.
The majority of guys who do this already have made it. They already have a lot of money and they want to rub shit in people's faces. And I'm sorry for swearing, but that shit pisses me off.
I agree.
Why are you even, how the hollowness inside of someone like that psychologically, I can tell you, is very vast. If they have that much money and they have so few things to do than to come on CT and start talking about how they were right. I mean, things are grim internally, right? No substance whatsoever in the human being. Yeah. And so it drives me a little crazy. And so, when you're talking about, I told you to stable this, I told you to stable that. Well, obviously they know. They're already feeling like crap, right? And that's how you learn lessons is the hard way. You don't need to lean on them or kick them when they're down. People really don't respond to that anyways. They don't. People learn the best through biting, kicking their own butt. That's how we all learn better, right? By kicking our own ass. Yeah. And so when these people do this, I see it all the time, but it just drives me crazy. It's okay if you called something and you want to take clout for it, great, amazing, especially when you put hard work into it. When people have lost a ton of money. Because I think few influencers, they forget, they don't leave their house, they're in Puerto Rico, they're in Dubai, they're here and there. They don't drive down the streets and see all the homeless people and the homeless camps and everybody else. And some people, the majority of people in crypto have $100 to put in. Now, you tell me, like, how are they going to, and this isn't to put anybody down who's only invested much. Of course you can do well with it, but do you have to be vigilant? Do you have to be diligent? You can't take a break. The majority of people like that, they're hoping, right? They see something that could change their life. A lot of them don't have the drive, not the intelligence, it's always the drive to actually sit down and do the work, right? That it takes to succeed. And so these people have hope, and these guys, they just lost 50%. They lost everything, right? And they don't understand how to handle this because they're new. And they just take a big crap right on them afterwards. I told you to stable, I told you to do this. What? Did you? I mean, I don't know. Because if an influencer says, hey, I'm stabling some money, right? During a bull market, he's dumping on us. Well, I mean, yeah. I'm not sure if they did or didn't, but it drives me crazy because it just does. I don't know how else to put it. Like when I take profits on the way up. I very rarely sell the top. I never sell the top, actually. I always sell small increments when we're in the middle of a bull market and it's really, really multiplying, right? It's only a little bit at a time and it doesn't affect the chart. So responsible whales, responsible influencers know how to do this very well. They know how to take out small amounts of profit that are going to make, that are going to long-term lead them to wealth, right? Without destroying the chart, right? And that's another problem in crypto is we have these people that'll sell like 25 ETH on a micro cap. It's like, what are you doing? And they would have made more had they promoted the project and held and sold small amounts, because when people see a chart accumulating right on top of an all-time high, or maybe down to the next, the previous support, right? Then they start buying again. And these people don't understand that. So they'll just, sell 25 ETH at once, but that's irresponsible, especially for influencers and whales. And I know some of these guys do it. They'll dump 100 ETH. I've seen a whale jump. I've seen a guy, an influencer I know, dump 300 ETH at once on a project. And I was like, okay, but
what can we do? Like, do you think that a part of the problem is the nature of social media? Like, had it been truly decentralized, or like, let's say Web3, where like if you say I am 90% stable, bro, and your wallet is like linked to it, so I can see how many times you got wrecked. You wouldn't be bragging after that. No,
and everyone had the same problem. Influencers not even influencers, people who are really good at this get wrecked all the time. I do all the time. The key is to know which ones will do really well, take risks, calculated risk, put less in the calculated risk. You'll probably lose that, and you might 10x on another thing. And that's how you make money long term. And that's the short-sightedness of the market too. Like, there's no reason to be in such a rush where you're scamming people and dumping on people. Like, the whole reason government intervention is coming is because of the scams. But had we all worked kind of together and like did it a little bit more responsible, well, regulations may be off a few more years, right? But we haven't. But so, that kind of stuff, it irritates me a little bit. And I just get tired of it. It's like, because the majority of influencers too, they put out a lot of like 2-sentence alphas, right? With not much else. People who do TA are great. People who do breakdowns are great. People who really keep people informed are great. But, a lot of the influencers on CT, at the same time, I'm not going to talk badly, but like, if there was really hardworking, content-driven people that came on a CT, well, a lot of the influencers wouldn't have jobs,
right?
Because it's so easy, and you have to be on top of things. Don't get me wrong, you really have to work. But so many of them put in so little effort, and they have so many followers. So
it's the ecosystem, right? Because they have somebody to tell them about the latest NFTs, somebody to like tell them about the latest DeFi. So like, obviously they are going to be on top of everything. That's like the Hollywood of crypto.
Yeah, it's always going to be that way. But back to that comment, I don't know. I was irritable that day too. Sorry.
It makes sense. I loved it. Like, that was some of these things like that resonated with me, because I was wrecked that day. And I was looking at people going, like, I already stabled. I was like, dude, it's not about stabling.
Yeah.
It's about don't brag about it right now.
Right. And what it really is a gauge for society. Negativity and selfishness. And not being selfish is fine. But rubbing things in people's faces, kicking when they're down, really having to say, I told you so, like that little kid mentality. It shows you how grown up we are. So. And not to say I don't have flaws. Certainly I lose my temper. I get immature. I do stupid things. Everybody does.
We all do. We are humans, right? It's about trying to control what we can control. And some people get that high by, like, let's say, putting people down or stuff like that. But I get it. And with that, I'd like to call this a wrap. Thank you for being on the HackerNoon podcast. If you have any message for the readers, we'd love to share them.
Like right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just hope anybody who wants to do well will do well. What I mean by that is, and this is disappointing to a lot of people, don't think you're going to do this overnight. Just put your time into it. Be the new person. Don't think you know it all. The most successful people here I know, they actually sit back and watch and observe, and they ask intelligent questions, and not too many. They can ask whatever they want, and they're persistent, and they show up every day, and that's it. They're not braggarts. They're very humble typically, and I know a few of them that are incredibly successful. I mean, they'll never have to work again. Let's put it that way. And it's because networking too is also very important. Get to know people. Make friends with smart people. You always have to have something to bring to the table. So even if you don't know much about crypto, we'll say, hey, I'm willing to do this. You want me to go through this and see if I can find this data, learn. There's always something you can do, especially when it comes to networking and developing, or, getting involved in some research, and don't be afraid to take chances either. Calculate your risk. One thing people have an issue with is they'll get lucky. 500, let's say your portfolio was $10,000 and you made money consistently putting $500 into each investment. Bull market starts, they start going higher. and higher. Let's do 1,000. Let's do 2,000, right? But they went away from their original plan. They ended up losing all their money because of that plan. You need capital to spread out. You need to stay consistent. You need to stick with your execution plan. Getting bigger is a problem because you're going to lose more too. But those little wins that become 10x's, let's say you get 100. It's not even uncommon to get a 50x off $500, but you put $500 in 10 different projects. Oh, I mean, you made a lot of money. It doesn't matter about those 9 other things. And I guess that's the message. I don't know what else to really. I'm not. It's my first podcast, so.
Thank you for blessing us with that.
Yes.
We'd be very happy to be a part of the HackerNoon family.
Yeah.
Welcome. And with that, I'd like to call this a wrap. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. I appreciate it.